Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters. How are you today? Sorry to interrupt your Sunday day here. We want to bring you a special report coming out of Hawaii. The death toll has risen to 80. And after this report gets finished in about 5 minutes, I've got some commentary about it as well, and I will take questions.
Pain and anguish from Maui, but we do want to start with a positive development. Hardworking crews have now fully contained the fire in the Pulehu Hihei area yesterday. They were able to extinguish a fire earlier this weekend in the Ka'anapali area, which had forced some evacuations. Work continues on both the Lahaina and upcountry fires, which at last check are at 85% and 50% contained respectively. It's estimated 19 buildings may have been destroyed upcountry and over 2,200 damaged or destroyed in Lahaina. Sadly, the official death toll from the Lahaina fire continues to rise. 93 people are now confirmed dead. As we know, that number will keep going up as crews continue to dig deeper into the ruins. Our Eddie Dowd will have more info on this in minutes. Maui police are working to notify the families of those lost. People with missing family members are asked to go to the Family Assistance Center for a DNA swab to help identify victims. Access to Lahaina remains restricted at this hour as search and rescue operations take place there. Officials say the area will remain off limits until recovery efforts are complete and hazmat crews deem it safe to return. Anyone entering the disaster area could face jail time and a $2,000 fine. Meanwhile, access to the area between Waihee and Aveyah deem it is open for residents with proof. Some Maui residents should not drink the water from the tap. An advisory is in effect for areas of Upper Kula and Lahaina affected by the fires. The water should not be consumed even after boiling. Water tankers are at impacted neighborhoods, which in Kula include Crater Road, Cop Road, Kula Fire Station, Rice Park, Kula Community Center, and Keokea. In Lahaina, the advisory does not apply to Kaniao Road and areas north of the road, including villages of Leali'i. Over 1,400 people remain at shelters on Maui. Donations continue to pour into the sites, including at War Memorial Sports Complex in Wailuku. Starting today, a free shuttle will be offered to people at the shelters, which will take them to medical facilities and places to shop in central Maui. It'll operate from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Meanwhile, Kaiser Permanente will be bringing a mobile clinic to the Lahaina Gateway starting today. It'll be open for drop-ins from 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. to both KP members and non-members at no cost. More progress on restoring power and internet service for residents. HECO was able to restore power to customers along the Ka'anapali coast yesterday, and now say 5,500 have been brought back online since Friday. One of the goals, getting power back up to resort areas so hotel rooms can be used for displaced residents. 2 Wi-Fi trucks are now available to the public to get connected. They are at Napili Park, that's where you'll find one of them, the other at Honokowai Park.
Okay, we're going to have more coming possibly this evening, and if so, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it this evening. Now, folks, what has happened here in Hawaii is so unfortunate. Everybody knows that. Heather says it brings back memories she'd rather forget, and I can completely agree with her. Now, folks, this is very serious. I have information that I would rather not be able to give at this point in time, but I'm going to mention some of it. I have been doing my own investigation into this fire. I have been piecing together facts that I have. I've been speaking to some of the powers that be over on the island. I've been talking with others that have information. And at this point in time, there's a lot going on, as you know. Only 3% of Lahaina has been searched, and the death toll has already gone up to over 93. What is going on, folks, is very serious. We still have not searched the rest of Lahaina. We have not searched Kalapali. We haven't searched other areas. The area is basically a graveyard. With over 2,000 that have been reported missing, and 93 people have been located as gone. That means nearly 1,900 people, or more than 1,900 people, have yet to be located. The death toll will most assuredly go up. The information I have is this was not an arson fire per se. I have belief and I have information to say that it was set by people that would rather not be found at this point in time. A large number of people own land on Maui. Oprah Winfrey owns over 1,000 acres herself. Several other celebrities own sizable portions of the island. Most of those parcels have not been touched by fire. The island was set for a conference, and now it's probably going to be held on the Big Island or Oahu. There had already been one meeting together of people that wanted to turn Maui into a completely electric island, to be metered by IA or AI, meaning everything watched meticulously by artificial intelligence, having electric vehicles and nothing else. And there's 2 other meetings scheduled. There was a sizable portion of the community that was elderly, that did not have vehicles. There also were families living there in the area that was destroyed by the fire. As I reported on a previous broadcast, maybe 2 broadcasts, the fire swept through there with fury. I'm not going to replay any of that footage, but vehicles were roasted, literally. The gasoline-powered vehicles and the electric vehicles were totally destroyed. How is that possible? With only the metal remaining, which is typical in a fire. We saw that happen in Paradise, California. We've seen it happen in very many other places throughout the world when fire ravages through communities. But as I said, there are families that lived in that area. Some of those parents had to work. So children were left to fend for themselves and had no way to evacuate the area, both in Lahaina and other areas of Maui. So as the death toll mounts, I need to warn everybody. And again, this comes from the people that I was entrusted to talk about, because this channel is being monitored by people from Maui and the other islands. They have let some residents come back in to areas that had already been checked by recovery crews and dogs. But only 3% of Lahaina has been checked, which means 97% of Lahaina still needs to be checked, and other areas of West Maui still need to be gone through. I saw a video yesterday. It was very, very, very tragic. It showed two young men driving through the area, probably trying to rescue themselves, and there was a woman on the side of the road. They didn't even bother to check on her. She was laying on the ground. Folks, I want to caution everybody. Please, please, as you view information, be very careful. That area is sacred ground. Lahaina was sacred even before it burned. It was a center of the tribe of Hawaiians from decades and decades and decades and centuries ago. It was destroyed. Some of it was destroyed because it was old wood. There was no masonry back in the day. And so it's no surprise for a wildfire like that to destroy that downtown area of Lahaina. But on the same token, other homes were also destroyed. Villages destroyed. And as the death toll continues to climb, we're going to see children included in the death toll. Because as I said, there were families living in the subdivisions and parents had to work their jobs. And like I said, children had to fend for themselves, and I'm sure a lot of them did not make it out. So folks, be safe with what you view. Be safe that you view it without your children. They don't deserve to see the carnage. Be careful how you explain it to your children. As I said, I have a lot of answers that I wish I didn't have. I'm continuing to go through the information and my investigation with fine-tooth comb. And yes, someone already said something, and the chat had to be taken off because we cannot use the terms that were used in the chat. When I get ready to talk about this, I will not use words. I will show you signs. Because if we use those words, our chat will be taken down and our program can stand to be taken off the air again. And I will not risk that. We've been tasked with the ability and the knowledge that has been given us to pass information on. Nora Marie is asking, we know what's happening. Some of you probably do. Hurricane Heather said there were bodies in some of those cars as well. I know that. Absolutely, there probably were. Raymond Roy says the death toll is 98. Doesn't surprise me. Folks, just be careful. Josh was asking how many engine blocks were melted. A large majority of the engine blocks were melted. As the mayor has said in several of his messages that he has put out within the last 24 hours, the fire that went through there was over 1,000 degrees hot. 1,000 degrees Celsius. You guys can, or excuse me, 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. You guys can make the differentiation by calculus. There's a lot of things that happened. Boats out in the water were melted. You tell me how that happens. I already know. And as I go through the next few days, we will be talking about it. I promise you. We may not be able to use words, but I will use signs. Matt is asking if it was an act of war. No. Was it an act of war of the government against citizens? I believe it was. Was it an act of war of the Hawaii government against the citizens? I don't believe that in this case. But we all know that there is technology that is available to cause devastation like we've seen there. Yes, I have seen the pictures that I cannot verify as the weapon being used. And if I can't verify it, it's not going on my air. Brothers and sisters, this is serious. Like I said, this is an act against citizens of this country. Those people in Maui were citizens of this country. As you can see, I'm sickened, not from a malady, but from what I've seen and heard. I'm trying to be very delicate, but to pass on real, solid truth. I thought this would never happen in our country. I have seen now 2 different planes outfitted with the technology. It does not have to come from a satellite in space. My buddy Don Patoka says truth is not easy. It's not. Sometimes we say we'd rather not know the truth. On the same token, I believe it is better that we do know the truth. The scripture says that truth shall make us free. I am in total agreement with that. So as we go through the days and possibly even weeks, don't believe everything that you see in social media. And I don't care whether it's in Truth Social. I don't care whether it's in Telegram or Gab or Rumble. Yes, there's a lot of truth being spoken. But be careful with what you see and watch. They want us to only have the information that they want us to have. And they may show us information that is blatantly not true. And there are some people, and I want to say most of the people around us, as well as the multimedia corporations out there, that only will show that because they are being told to do it by powers in Washington and other places. This is not just the U.S. government, although I believe our present government has some splaining to do. Just be careful with what you see and what you do. With that said, with almost a similar situation, this past Wednesday morning, a man was killed in just outside of Salt Lake City in Provo, Utah. The man was known to be a good man. His family and his neighbors have spoken up. If you haven't yet seen one of my earlier programs this week or two, you probably ought to take a look at those, because those contain truth. The man was a 75-year-old basic, almost invalid, walking with a cane or a walking stick, having to have help getting out of bed or getting out of a chair to stand up. Wednesday morning before 6 a.m., the United States of America's FBI arrived at that house and gunned him down. Without seeing any reports, and we probably will not see them, or if we do see reports, they will be either redacted and they will probably contain false information. There are bad people out there. There are bad cops out there. Now, I can't imagine any law enforcement official, any law enforcement officer waking up early Wednesday morning, going to work, knowing what he's faced, or he or she is faced to do, and there were women involved as well, knowing that they're going to kill somebody that day. Whether or not that was the message that they wanted to convey, we don't know. The FBI had surveilled that man since March, and some of them had made up their mind about what kind of man he was. He may have said some things on social media that were not true. He may have been blustering. But he was not capable of what he said he was going to do. Yes, this is very hard for me, guys. I'm sorry. But again, what we need to do is source the information we get. Law enforcement reports, and I'm going to say 80% of them, 75 to 80% of them have been doctored in some way, shape, or form. Let it be said, I never doctored one of my reports, ever. Not ever. I never lied during any investigation. I never even came close to that. I believe you say what you say, and you say it with truth and everything else. But I cannot believe, even in my wildest imagination, that the reports that are going to be coming out are going to detail any kind of absolute truth. Just be careful. With what has been going on that we all know has happened, we do not want to be caught up in any of the chaos. None of us want to be caught up in anything that would lead to us having that kind of stuff happen to us, you and me. And I'm talking to everybody that may see this video. When the truth comes out about that, some of us will know it. Others will be dissuaded by false information. Please work through that. Don't trust everything. Read between the lines. Laura Marie said he may have had mental issues, medication issues, dementia. We'll never know. All I know is he had a very responsible position within his church. He was trusted on many levels. And yes, I know people that can be trusted on some levels have other issues literally on the other side of their home, on the other side of the street. But we have to work together. We have to help each other. I'm sure if the FBI really wanted the truth of what that man was, they could have interviewed his neighbors. They could have interviewed his bishop of his church, and maybe even with his bishop's help, approach this man. I already know of a surety that the things that happened that day were unlawful. They were immoral and unethical. I'm just telling it like it is. Unfortunately, I worked in the industry. I knew protocols. I may have mentioned this on another program. I was a shooting instructor, a weapons instructor. If I had had anything to do with those FBI agents, if I had been involved in training those FBI agents, I would have been called into a shooting review board and asked a heck of a lot of questions. And yes, each and every one of those questions should justify an honest answer. Yes, I've done an honest investigation so far with the things that I have found out, which are limited, because the agency is not going to divulge information. But what I do know is that we may never see the truth. But a good man is dead at the hands of, I'm going to say, ruthless men, whether they meant to kill somebody or not that morning. They had one mission: to silence him, whether it was taking him into custody and putting him away in a jail cell. That's what they were doing. And so I'm just telling you, yes, my investigation of that event is not over either. And I don't think I'll ever have the truth, but I'm going to try to find it. Matt Martin says, "Judgment is mine, saith the Lord God." And yes, it is. I, as a law enforcement officer, deserve to know the truth. Because of what I did, I need to know the information. And I believe his family and the neighbors, his church, and the public need to understand what happened, what really happened. And whether those agents, the Bureau itself, needs to be abolished, that remains to be seen. Actually, only remains to be seen if it is abolished. In my opinion, it should be. People are in our midst, and they don't give a rat's butt about what we do or say. I'm asking everybody to be very careful. Do not put out any information unless you can verify 1,000% that it's true. And I'm not saying 100%, because I'm saying 1,000%. Make sure without a doubt that there is no error in the judgment. Folks, do what you have to do to find truth. Don't err on the side of caution. Make sure you know the truth. In today's society, and yes, this is an emergency. In today's society, we fail at getting truth. And as a result, many people perish. We've seen that happen in Europe. We've seen that happen here in the United States, all over the world. Let's not let that happen to us. Pass on the truth. Tell people the truth. I am sure that would be the message that Mr. Robertson would be telling us now, if we were alive. His neighbors didn't deserve to see what they saw that morning. His close neighbors didn't need to hear what they heard. It should never have happened. Brothers and sisters, with the Hawaii event, it's not going to be over for a very long time. That whole area of western Maui is a graveyard. 2,000 people's bodies lay there in the ruins. You folks in Hawaii, do not go into that area unless you have to. unless it's part of your property and your area has been searched. Don't disturb the dead. Don't disturb hallowed ground. And that's exactly what that area is. Hallowed ground. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, I am a Christian. This morning, I gave a message in our Sunday school class this morning on how you yourself can gain a testimony of our Heavenly Father and a testimony of Jesus Christ. How you yourself can find without any doubt that you are a child of God. If you haven't seen our Sunday school class this morning, it was an hour and 20 minutes, and I'm sorry it went over. I kind of pledged that I wouldn't go over an hour, and I did again for the second or third time in several years. But go see that. Go watch it. And yes, leave comments after you've seen it. Let me know what you think. If necessary, send me a message. I'd like to hear from you. Michael McKinney says, how did those folks die? Michael, I'll answer the first question first. A great majority of those people died because the fire management system was not there to notify the people to get out. It didn't exist. The fire sirens in that area did not exist. They have early warning sirens if a volcano was going to erupt. And no, that volcano was nowhere near ready to erupt. It had not had any signs of earthquakes beneath it, or tremors or anything. It was not magma. But people on the ground could not get any information out. The fire had already consumed power lines and cell phone towers. And so there were only a very few sirens that even went off. And they were silenced, not by humans, but by the fire. Cell towers severely damaged where they couldn't do anything. And so people didn't get messages. Michael's final question, why didn't they leave when the fires broke out? Many people could not even get out because the fires were so rampant. Jumping roads, people driving down the roads trying to drive through the fire itself. I saw this happen at the Paradise Fire in California. I've seen it in the fires in Washington and Oregon, Nevada and Idaho and Utah. People trying to drive through the fires, some of them unable to clear the fires before their vehicle has started to be consumed. Those people didn't stand a chance. Those people didn't stand a chance. Those children were left in their homes, young children, older children, without a way to get out. I can only imagine the horror that they felt. The horror that their parents are feeling. The horror of people, adults as well, being consumed by fire. And everything disappearing. Dennis says, wildfire in Canada, I wonder if there's a connection. No. I don't think there's a connection. I believe that was arson. Almost in every case in Canada, it's been proven to be arson. And I believe some of that is by the government. All I'm saying, guys, there will be a report that will be issued about the Maui fire. Some of it will be redacted. Some of it will probably contain untruths. That remains to be seen. Judging from what I've seen already, there is so much grief. It's not even funny. All I'm saying, folks, is this. Be prepared. They haven't but scratched the surface of the investigation. They haven't but scratched the surface in recovering bodies from the fire. And it's going to be a lot. And there will be a lot of children. Get ready. Get ready. I don't believe anybody is ready for what we're going to find. This is the worst fire in U.S. history. Definitely the worst fire in Hawaiian history. And it will be the worst fire in Maui history. Brothers and sisters, get to know your God now. Get to know your God now. He knows you. I care about you. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here. Betty Zoom says that's all we need from the government is truth. Sorry, Betty, you'll never hear it from the government. Ronald Reagan said a lot of truth. One of the things President Reagan said, don't answer your door if it's the government saying, we're here to help. It ain't the truth. Joyce Rod says, some claim there were tunnels. They're right. They're absolutely right. Part of the investigation I've just barely been able to do proves that there were trafficking tunnels. 7 of them. Seven trafficking tunnels on Maui. And no, this fire was not set to destroy those tunnels. Just so you know. One thing I do know is that Jesus Christ and our Heavenly Father hear our prayers. You can gain strength and some consolation from God. God will give you the strength to heal. God will give you the strength to get through the things that you need to go through. I personally know people that have. Stand for God. If you stand for anything, stand for God. God will not let you down. The government will never tell you the truth about anything. You only get partial truths. They'll demand the truth from other people, but you will only get partial truth, because they won't let you hear the truth, all of it. I can guarantee you. Brothers and sisters, share this program with everyone you know. Again, this is a very important program. Yes, it does have something to do with emergencies and disasters. We're covering a disaster, several of them. We're also talking about preparedness. I'm talking for each and every one of us to be prepared. Not just physically with water and food and clothing and other essentials. Today's program has everything to do with being spiritually prepared. Because what is to come, no one has any inkling of what we're going to find. I never thought we'd see this. I've seen a lot of disasters. I've seen a lot of people die. It's never pretty. But folks, God will help you. Laura Marie is one of my dear friends from a long time ago. She's here in the chat saying, I needed to hear this. I've been losing sleep since the Maui fires and what happened in Utah. I have too. Many of us have. Being a law enforcement officer is not easy. Being retired is still not easy. Because I have never come home from being a missionary for my church, and I have never come home from this. I may have put away my uniform, but I've never put away my oath to serve our country, to serve humanity and serve you. That will never go up on the shelf. Trish is saying, Ron, take care of your health, your spiritual, physical, and your mental. I am. Please, folks, stay close to this program. At least here you're going to hear truth. Not sugar-coated truth. God bless you this day and always. May God protect you from things that are going on around and above us. Be careful in everything you do. Watch your sides and watch your back. Protect yourself and your families. And last but not least, God be with you. Till we meet again. We'll see you, if not tonight, tomorrow, talking about truth, talking about how we can protect ourselves and how we can be happy. Until then, America, until then, all of you all over the world, love each other and never forget to tell someone else that you love them. God be with you till we meet again. Good night, everybody.